This is a special presentation from WAAY 31 Sports, your home for the SEC. The last decade of SEC football has been dominated by two teams, the Georgia Bulldogs and Alabama Crimson Tide. Since 2014, no SEC championship game has been played without one of them. And in their last three meetings, someone has walked away with a trophy. For the first time since 2020, the Tide and Bulldogs are meeting in a regular season game. It's a top 5 battle, and it's the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.
The game everyone has been looking forward to since it was announced, the rematch of last year's SEC championship game in this new era of college football. A 16-team SEC and a 12-team playoff are the new reality, and what better way to open SEC play than with the team you played for the conference title last year. Welcome in Max Cohan alongside Trevor Denton. And Trevor, Alabama and Georgia are no stranger to each other, but they're not usually meeting in September.
Yeah, recently there's been a championship up for grabs if these two are on the same field. Well, this time, the Tide opening up conference play against the Dogs. That is crazy, Max.
Yeah, remember, Georgia started the season at the top of the AP poll with Alabama in the 5-hole. Now the Dogs sit at 2 with the Tide at 4. Let's show you how they got there. Week 1 was a big one for both the Tide and Bulldogs. In Tuscaloosa, it was the start of the Kalen DeBoer era as the Tide hosted Western Kentucky at Bryant-Denny Stadium. The 63-0 win would go down as the Jalen Milroe show as the quarterback passed for 3 touchdowns and scored 2 more with his legs.
Good to get a W to start the year.
Over in Atlanta, the then top-ranked Bulldogs put on a show against Clemson. Carson Beck threw for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns, while the defense shut the Tigers down 34-3. Week 2 was a bit different for both squads. In Alabama, the Tide defeated South Florida 42-16, but the final score was a bit misleading. DeBoer's squad was not dominant in the first 3 quarters, and the Bulls only trailed by 1 point at the start of the 4th, but then a 28-point final period put any upset conversations to bed in what ended up being a blowout.
I think you need games like this, and this isn't a wake-up call or nothing like that. It's nothing like that. It's just, just keep raising the standard.
The Bulldogs also won big, steamrolling Tennessee Tech in Athens. Beck had his best game of the young season, connecting on 5 touchdown passes as UGA's defense held the Golden Eagles to just 18 pass yards in the 48-3 win.
I was really proud of our guys today. Came out with good energy, good passion to be able to play at home.
Both squads hit the road in Week 3, with the Tide taking the trip up to Wisconsin. Alabama made a statement against the Badgers with another 5-score day from Milroe, giving the Tide their 3rd straight blowout win, 42-10.
Was expecting a good performance, and it's never going to be perfect, but a lot of great things to build off of.
But Georgia would not have it as easy. Taking on Kentucky in Lexington, the Wildcats came to play and held back to just 160 pass yards, with Branson Robinson, who only had 2 touches all game, scoring the lone touchdown. Kicker Alex Rayner was responsible for all of Kentucky's points in what would go down as an ugly Georgia win, 13-12.
Our defense played lights out tonight. They got a good team. When you play on the road in the SEC, people don't respect that. And I'm not sure our guys listen to the message all week, because this is a good football team. You don't judge SEC teams on 1 week. So that's a good football team. We did what we had to do, but we did not play real well enough.
Thank God we have a bye week. That's all I got to say.
Of course, everybody knows this is a huge game. Anytime ranked conference opponents clash, there's always going to be excitement in the air. You can only crank it up another notch when they're both true national title contenders, Max.
Yeah, Trevor, and normally a meeting like this could make or break your season, but former Crimson Tide star and current SEC Network analyst Roman Harper tells us that maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit too much hype surrounding this one.
The season's not over if you win or lose this game. I mean, it means something because it's a big game. And it's 2 highly competitive teams in the top 5. Like, that's what it matters. And this is what you come to these schools for, because I want to play against the best. Like, that's what matters, in my opinion. Everybody's going to try and build it up to what this game is. And it was somebody just described it to me as like, oh, is it possible like playing in the Super Bowl? It's not even close to that. But once the ball's kicked off, it's just a game. And so it's got to be played, and it's going to be won or lost by who wins the line of scrimmage, just like it's been every other time Alabama and Georgia have matched up. Like, who wins that matchup is going to win the game. And the game's going to play how the game's going to play. But It is a big game because we have two top 5 teams within the same conference who have had a history, and the history has changed. And so it's a lot riding on the line for different reasons for both teams and universities.
As you said before, losing this game doesn't take you out of contention like it might have in the past. What do you think the one thing a team could take away from a win in this game would be?
You'd probably knocked off the best team, or if not one of the best top 2 or 3 teams, best teams in the country. And you can say that on either side. That's just the truth of the matter. And so you build confidence off of these games. You know, when you win these type of games, your mindset changes. You know, we always talk about winning championships. We always talk about, you know, winning football and what all you do and all these other things. But then when you go out there and do it, you know, you confirm validity. You start to believe like, hey, we can do these things, that we are the team that we think we are. And when you have that type of mindset, you win games later on in the season that you didn't know you could. Or when you're tough or you're down in the fourth quarter, you still have a sense and a belief because you know how to win versus good teams. A lot of teams can't do that. So winning these type of games gives you that type of belief and that type of understanding, like, no, we've been here, we know how to do these things.
Trevor, 1895 was a long time ago, but it was also the first time the Tide and Bulldogs met on the gridiron, and there's a lot of history between these two teams, but regular season meetings were not common during the SEC's divisional era, with only 2 non-playoff games in the last decade.
Who could forget that 1895 slugfest in Columbus, Georgia? The Dogs won that game, but mostly Alabama has dominated this series, so let's dive a little deeper into the numbers between these two SEC juggernauts.
Alabama and Georgia have met 73 times, with the Tide winning 43 of the meetings. These two clashed 10 times in the Nick Saban era, with the Tide winning 8 of those matchups and 5 of 6 against Kirby Smart. Lately, these two have mostly met with championships on the line, but in their last 3 regular season meetings, Alabama has won by an average margin of 22 points. The Tide are 8-2 all-time in Tuscaloosa, with the Bulldogs last winning at Bryant-Denny back in 2007, 4 months before wide receiver Ryan Williams was born. While Alabama tries to keep that dominance going under Kalen DeBoer, the Dogs have some dominant streaks of their own going. They've won a record 28 SEC regular season games in a row, and they've won their last 16 road games. Georgia has lost just twice in the last 3 seasons, but yes, both of those defeats were handed to them courtesy of the Tide. There's little doubt these are the 2 most dominant forces in the sport right now. Georgia is 53-4 since 2020. The Tide are 52-6. The winner will put itself in a great spot to get back to the playoff, while the loser's margin of error goes way down. It's stakes like these that make college football great, and this rivalry one of the most impactful ones in the entire sport.
Now, when it comes down to key players for the Tide, Alabama's should be fairly obvious. This team runs through Jalen Milroe, a model of consistency in the first 3 games. The Texas native has not thrown for more than 200 yards in a game this season, but that's because he hasn't needed to. 3 games in, he's thrown 8 touchdown passes and has yet to be picked off. He's also hard to stop when he's using his legs, scoring 2 rushing touchdowns in every game they've played. And as they've been saying, 4 + 2 = 6, and 4 times this year it has. 17-year-old wide receiver Ryan Williams has been a breakout star for the Tide. The true freshman leads the team in receptions, receiving yards, and receiving touchdowns. The Mobile native took his first 2 collegiate catches to the house and has kept his foot on the gas ever since, recording at least 1 catch of 40 or more yards in every single game. But of course, defense wins championships, and the Tide's tackle for loss monsters will be key if they want to win this one. Tim Keenan and Q Robinson have been in attack mode all season long, each with at least 3 TFLs, including some sacks. If they can keep pressure on the Dogs, Bama can make things interesting.
And on the dog side of things, the quarterback, another obvious choice. In fact, many experts have Carson Beck going #1 overall in the next NFL draft. Beck has also impressed many with his performances so far, tallying 7 touchdown passes and 0 interceptions. But the redshirt senior was held off the board in that gritty win over Kentucky. Safe to assume he'll be looking to make a statement in Tuscaloosa after an uneven performance in Atlanta last year. Georgia always stacked at the running back position. They get a big boost this year, landing Trevor Etienne in the portal from Florida, while the junior has yet to find pay dirt yet. He's averaging 6.5 yards per carry. He's got the ability to break free for massive gains. Also look out for the young freshman ball carrier, Nate Frazier. But during the Kirby Smart era, the defense has always been the true superstar of the team. That's no different this year. The Georgia defense has yet to allow a single touchdown this season, and they've only given up 1 play of more than 30 yards all year long. That is just ridiculous.
So we've seen the key players. Now let's take a look at our local Crimson Tide players. We'll start with everyone's favorite long snapper from Florence, Neelan Hibbett. Also a former Falcon is defensive back Jalil Hurley, but we've still got one more from the Shoals, and it's another defensive back in Mars Hill alum Griffin Hansen. From right here in the Rocket City, we've got offensive lineman Billy Roby, and last but not least, Pisgah's J.D. Martin gives us another offensive lineman. So 5 locals on the Tide, and believe it or not, the Bulldogs only have 2 players from the state of Alabama on their roster, and neither calls North Alabama home. And you know the key players make key plays, so let's get into what it'll take to win this game. On the Tide side, Jalen Milroe needs to make explosive plays, whether it be with his arm or his legs. The Tide have 20 plays of 20 or more yards, 11 plays of 30 or more yards, and 7 plays of 40 or more. Clearly, it's a winning formula, as Alabama has won by at least 26 points every week. And while the Tide's offense has been getting a lot of attention, the defense has been great too, allowing just 3 plays of at least 20 yards. And if they want to keep it that way, they'll need to get to Carson Beck and keep pressure on him.
Okay, on the other side of the field, the Bulldogs will also look to put their big play ability on display. In their first 2 contests, Georgia had at least 1 run and 1 pass of at least 40 yards. Kentucky managed to clamp down on them and keep them from doing both in a near upset. But the one thing that has separated the Bulldogs from every team they've faced this season is that defense. The squad is not allowed a touchdown all season, like we mentioned, and they've also given up just 1 explosive play all season. Well, the Tide lead the nation in touchdowns over 20 yards, so this will no doubt be the biggest test for a unit led by safety Malachi Starks. Also keep an eye on defensive end Mikel Williams, who's listed as questionable for this game with an ankle injury. He is easily their biggest disruptor up front. With his mentor turned rival out of the picture, Kirby Smart looking for better results against the Crimson Tide. Up next, I'll dive deeper into how he feels about this year's matchup.
You're watching the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.
Plumbing issues got you down? Scott Plumbing. We're North Alabama's choice for professional plumbing services. Let us help solve all your issues. Call Scott Plumbing. We'll be there when you need us. 256-701-6181. scottplumbing.biz.
I'm looking forward to telling important stories. I understand the impact that stories can really have on people. I care deeply about getting it right. I bring experience because I've been tested in stressful situations. Parkland, Sandy Hook, the marathon bombing. You never actually know what's coming. You just can't get it wrong.
Tori Dunnan, WAAY 31 News, coverage you can count on.
In my 30-plus years as a meteorologist, I've never had the opportunity to track approaching severe weather with this much detail. Until now.
31 triple Doppler, 3 live local radars tracking weather clearer across North Alabama.
You can even see all 3 live radars on the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app.
It's the area's best tracking tool, but more importantly,
it's the best way for you to stay informed so you can stay safe.
31 triple Doppler is weather coverage you can count on.
Plumbing issues got you down? Scott Plumbing. We're North Alabama's choice for professional plumbing services. Let us help solve all your issues. Call Scott Plumbing. We'll be there when you need us. 256-701-6181. scottplumbing.biz.
WAAY 31 and ABC, home of the SEC. You're watching the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.
During the Nick Saban era, Alabama's coaching staff produced so many head coaches it's almost unreal. Just take one look at the 2015 staff and your head might explode. Mario Cristobal, Lane Kiffin, and Billy Napier, to name just a few.
Yeah, and of course the biggest success story of them all is Kirby Smart, who went from Nick Saban's defensive coordinator to his biggest challenger for college football dominance. Take a look.
For 9 years, Kirby Smart was a key figure in Alabama's dynasty.
And I think it's strange going back there sometimes because I lived there. Our kids were born there and lived there for 9 years and had such great experiences there.
For the last 9 years, he's been their biggest rival.
It's so weird when you play there because you're in and out. You know, you're there and then you're gone. So it's just different.
What will also be different for Smart is looking across the sideline and no longer seeing his mentor. But he knows Nick Saban's fingerprints are still all over the program.
Well, he recruited a lot of them, and they're good players, you know, and I think anytime you go against a really good team that's a powerhouse in college football, that it's a challenge.
As usual, Kirby's focus is on the present task at hand and not history.
You really focus on the players, what they have to do, what we have to do to execute, that it takes away from that thing. There's a lot of people that are still there in the organization that I'm close with and have a lot of respect for.
One of those people is current defensive line coach Freddie Roach, who was on the staff with Smart from 2008 to 2010 and again in 2015.
Obviously, he was here when Coach won a lot of national championships. Haven't been around him. He's a guy who's detailed, demands a lot to play at a certain standard. And, you know, just a great guy. No surprise that he's having success he's having.
So what would a win over his former team this week mean for Smart?
It mean we got to get ready for Auburn?
Now, if there's anyone who's seen a few games like this, it's the voice of the Tide, Chris Stewart. With more than 20 years behind the mic in Tuscaloosa, Stewart has seen just about everything and knows this game has all the makings of an instant classic.
No secret, been behind the mic for a lot of big games. Does this one feel different for a regular season game? Does this one feel like it has some extra juice behind it?
Yeah, Max, it does. Alabama-Georgia has been the game in college football for a number of years, and it is rare to have it as a regular season matchup. It definitely has the circus feel to it. In fact, when the announcement came that we were going to have another spectator that would create another element of things, I retweeted that it was happening and said, you know, add another tent to the circus, because that's what it's going to be, and it would have been regardless. It's special. I mean, these are the two best teams, the two best programs in college football over the last several years, and I don't expect it to be anything other than the same great intensity that we have been accustomed to in the past.
The last 3 times they've met, a title has been on the line, whether it be the SEC championship or a national championship. Do you think having matchups like that give the teams and this meeting a little bit more meaning, even though there isn't one of those on the line?
Yeah, and look, it gives the winner, at least for a week, the chance to be a front runner to get to Atlanta. You could contend that it's easier to win the national championship than the SEC championship, just given the fact that probably 4 or 5 SEC teams are going to get in the playoff, but only 2 are going to make it to Atlanta. And the winner of this one certainly has an advantage, but it's not like you go ahead and make reservations if you win this game, and you don't go ahead and consider yourself out of the SEC mix. I mean, heck, this could be the first of 2, potentially 3 meetings between the squads this year, which is crazy to think of in college football's day and age.
When you think back recently, the regular season games in Tuscaloosa, aside from the Joe Burrow year with LSU, is there another game that stands out that was Alabama and another team in the regular season that had this much hype behind it?
The one that just immediately comes to mind is the LSU game of the century, which was well before the Burrow matchup. You know, we're talking 12 years or more. It's got a chance to have all the hype, all the excitement, and it is clearly the game in college football. That's taking place this weekend, prime time. I just think it shows the fact that this game is getting to billing and the hype, and frankly, regardless of the outcome. Alabama is still Alabama, which doesn't take anything away from Nick Saban's tenure, of course, which was historic, not only for Tuscaloosa, but nationally. This program hasn't changed in its focus or its commitment as it has been since we started, to be the very best that there is in the country. And I'm so excited to have a chance to watch this team, this program, in this environment, in this setting, and know that Bama fans are going to do their part to make it a really tough place to play. And I have no doubt the team is going to do the very same thing.
When we come back, we'll take you behind the headset.
Yeah, it's right here from Kalen DeBoer and Kirby Smart right after the break.
You're watching the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.
Plumbing issues got you down? Scott Plumbing. We're North Alabama's choice for professional plumbing services. Let us help solve all your issues. Call Scott Plumbing. We'll be there when you need us. 256-701-6181. scottplumbing.biz.
Don't miss out on getting the area's most accurate local weather app. Scan this QR code right here to get the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app. Get the most accurate weather data available. You still have a couple seconds. 3, 2, 1, time.
A way better morning starts here. The news you need.
We begin this half hour with some breaking news on this Monday morning.
Bus stop weather.
We're going to get a whole lot of rain.
Your best WAAY traffic. WAAY 31 is morning coverage you can count on.
In my 30-plus years as a meteorologist, I've never had the opportunity to track approaching severe weather with this much detail. Until now.
31 triple Doppler, 3 live local radars tracking weather clearer across North Alabama.
You can even see all 3 live radars on the WAAY 31 Storm Tracker weather app.
It's the area's best tracking tool, but more importantly,
it's the best way for you to stay informed so you can stay safe.
31 triple Doppler is weather coverage you can count on.
Plumbing issues got you down? Scott Plumbing. We're North Alabama's choice for professional plumbing services. Let us help solve all your issues. Call Scott Plumbing. We'll be there when you need us. 256-701-6181. scottplumbing.biz.
WAAY 31 and ABC, home of the SEC. You're watching the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.
The clock is ticking and the countdown is on. We won't have to wait much longer to see what's shaping up to be one of the best games on the schedule.
But fans and broadcasters aren't the only ones excited about games like this. In fact, Kalen DeBoer and Jalen Milroe said earlier this week that it's these type of games that are the reason why they came to Tuscaloosa.
You come to this place here at Alabama to be a part of games that, gather a lot of attention, to be in an atmosphere and environment that's just special and different. And so embrace it, embrace the challenges, embrace the things that are going to come our way against great football teams. And that's, what you got to love about being a competitor. And so, yes, you're exactly right. We came here to all of us, different journeys, players, staff, came here in different ways to be a part of something like this that you're going to see here this week and on Saturday.
As a recruit, you always, dreamt of moments like this, to play in great atmospheres, great games, and play SEC ball. This is our first test in the SEC, and so it's a great opportunity for us as a football team to have this game, and it's so important for us to just have fun, play fast, free, and fearless, and just acknowledge that it's going to be a hard task and it's going to take 60 minutes of football.
This is a big game for Kirby Smart and Georgia for a number of reasons we've already mentioned, and it takes on a different feel now that he's not going up against the guy that helped to shape him. But it doesn't change the fact that these are the type of games that everybody wants a piece of, regardless of who's got the headset on.
I think anytime you go against a really good team that's a powerhouse in college football, that it's a challenge. And I really look at it like this is a hell of an opportunity for our kids, our program, national stage. And, we're on the national stage a lot. We've been in the national stage a lot, especially the last 3 to 4 years. So it's the reason kids want to come to Georgia. They say, I want to play in games like that. Most viewed game 2 weeks ago Saturday night was our game. It's going to probably be that way this Saturday night. And when you start looking at it, kids want to have an opportunity to play in those tight games. We're going to have more of them after this. So it's a great opportunity to play in a national stage, and that's what we built our program on, is playing tough opponents.
So Trevor, remember, this excitement is at an all-time high already, but it gets even exciting more when you realize you're already watching the channel, that this game is going to be exciting, or more exciting, however you want to say it. I'm that excited because you don't have to touch the remote to watch the game we're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. You can just keep it tuned right on WAAY 31 for an exciting or great slate of college football, capped off at 6:30 with number 2 Georgia against number 4 Alabama. A battle on the newly named Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
We are pumped to see how it goes, clearly, and make sure you stick with us right here on WAAY 31 because, as we said, you don't have to touch your remote to watch the game we've been telling you about. For Trevor Denton, I'm Max Cohan, WAAY 31 Sports.
You have been watching a special presentation of WAAY 31 Sports, the Scott Plumbing Throwdown in T-Town.